Landman is back with the penultimate episode of the season, and do you know what? Fair play. This feels like the episode that I've been waiting for the entirety of the season. At least the final third of the episode made me think that anyway. There was action, drama, fighting, and twists that I remember making the first season of the show so good. With an ending that saw Tommy Norris being fired by Cami and Cooper saving Ariana from being attacked and being on the cusp of killing the person that did it, it was a tense final 15 minutes. So with that, let's break down the episode, discuss the ending, answer if the video camera footage is going to be damning for Cooper, and what Tommy being fired means for the wider story. Plus, I'll share what I thought of the episode. So let's get into it. Here is Landman Season 2 Episode 9, Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Tommy Norris. A common theme in this season of the show is that we don't actually spend that much time with Tommy Norris, and sadly that was also the case in this episode. Instead of seeing him in a car travelling from pillar to post, we saw him on a plane with Cami and the rest of the crew because they were flying to Louisiana for the rig launch party. Something that Cami had essentially put on to prove to the insurance company that they were committing to drilling the rig. As we heard last week, there was only a 10% chance that drilling in that specific spot would find gas, so it was a large risk that Cami was taking. During this episode, we saw the risk was something that she thrived on, and she realized that the risk and rush of operating like that was what made Monty so successful in what he did when he was heading up MTech's. She felt as though he built the company on that rush, and he made his fortune because of it, but Tommy looked at it in a completely different way. He believed that whilst Monty did make a fortune off of the rush, searching for that buzz and the rush of it all was what actually was the very thing that killed him. So the divide between both Cami and Tommy was present, and it was the most tense that it had been between them all season. There were also a few other moments where it felt like Tommy was being made to be slightly different to the others. The first was when everybody was accepting a drink. Tommy chose to nod. Now, we know that Tommy Norris loves a drink, but as everybody was chugging down on the free drinks that were in front of them, he didn't accept one. Plus, as well, there was a moment in the car where Cami was looking over at Tommy, and he said, "What?" and she said nothing. This showed that she was looking at him and in deep thought over the decision that she was going to be making later on down the line. With Cami having the craving for the rush at the center of her core, and Tommy once living like that but experiencing what it was like to lose it all, which is what happened back in 2008, he learned that he didn't want to live like that because it can cost him everything. So Cami instead decided to fire Tommy. She didn't want the president of her company to be averse to the very thing that she wanted the company to move forward with: risk, the rush, and progression. She didn't want Tommy, one that played safe and was scared to take the leap. So with Tommy being fired and the very last thing that we saw of him being him watching over the rig that was being dragged in front of him, the thing that might not even bring success because there's only a 10% chance and it could be $400 million down the drain, he'll either go out being a man that was right or a man that was seen as a coward. Cooper and Ariana. This was an arc that I didn't expect to develop the way that it did. First off, what we saw with Cooper when he was on site and telling the crew to dig in the spot where the old setup was that he was taking a risk. The crew were wary of digging because it was essentially draining a pocket, but Cooper believed that there was more that was down there which could be taken. This was something that showed how he and his father were now different, and that Cooper was somebody that almost lived and breathed the rush. Cooper wanted to make something of himself, and he knew that in order to do that, he had to take risks. Whereas with Tommy, he was no longer at a point in his life where he wanted to put himself on the line for risks because he didn't want to lose anything. However, that actually ended up costing him everything. When it came to the ending of the episode, Ariana was working the double shift, and the guy that was banned from there at the beginning of the season came back to get revenge on her. The guy attacked her, and Ariana put up the best fight that she could, but sadly it wasn't enough. Cooper planned on surprising Ariana at work, and when he got there, he walked out the back and saw the attack taking place. Cooper flipped the guy over and then turned on him to the point where he almost killed him. Honestly, I thought he was going to at one point, but he stopped because Ariana said that he wasn't worth going to jail for. The ending of the episode was then from the perspective of the surveillance footage in the alleyway, and I feel like it was made a focus of because I reckon Cooper might end up getting in trouble with the police because of the footage that was captured. Yes, Cooper was protecting his fiancée, but in the eyes of the law, did he go too far by beating the person to within an inch of their life? Could the life that he's wanted to set up with Ariana by making them more secure financially, taking on a better position with MTEX and also getting engaged to her be something that comes crumbling down? All because it could be seen as him going too far in the eyes of the law. I guess we'll see. Cooper was protecting his fiancée, so hopefully that won't actually be the case. He doesn't deserve that. Cooper deserves a piece of happiness after everything that he went through in season 1. Angela and Ainsley. Normally I come on here and complain about them, but do you know what? Maybe there's something in the air because I didn't find their story to be utterly pointless this week. Did they have too much screen time? Yeah, they most definitely did, but I thought the story of Ainsley going off to college and Angela being in tears and upset at her baby going, but then showing strength for her daughter's sake was something that I think any parent can relate to, whether it's a mother or a father. I also thought the incorporation of Pagan was quite humorous too. They were almost a character that contained all of the extremities that can often be present within the younger generation. And whilst it is an extreme exaggeration, seeing Ainsley having to try and penetrate through that energy, it was something that was quite humorous to watch. The part where they went to the pool was a bit silly and Angela going shopping to calm her mood was also a bit ridiculous, but at least they weren't just carting old folk around and putting them in strange situations. Rebecca. If I'm being honest, they've ruined Rebecca's character. I get that she's lonely, but I don't feel like the show needed to do a 180 on her and make her pine over Charlie Newsome. I found their whole encounter by the truck to be quite out of character for her, and I much preferred it when she was the female lawyer that was showing the men what she was actually made of, rather than just becoming a bit of an Angela or Ainsley type character that's more surface level and only cares about boys and their looks. Honestly, I hope that changes in Season 3 because the strength that she had in Season 1 was quite refreshing to see. My review of the episode. Even though there wasn't much time with Tommy Norris, I think this could be one of the best episodes of the season. I say that because the final third of the episode contained moments that I just didn't expect. There was action and there was drama and twists that took me by surprise. As soon as Cooper walked into that bar, I was on the edge of my seat because I didn't know what he was going to do. But when he did that flip, I knew it was about to go down. Before that, I also didn't know if Ariana was going to be killed or not, especially seeing as though she was hit by a rock. So it was an unpredictable ending, and I liked that because I feel like Season 1 was essentially made up of that. It felt like Cami was always going to fire Tommy, but the way that it was done, by dragging him out to Louisiana and doing it with their peers around, it just showed how heartless she truly was. The emotion that Billy Bob Thornton gave in this episode was something that I could feel through the screen, and it was nice to see the character actually have some depth. I do feel like the show is wasting Sam Elliott a little bit. He's such a good actor and they just have him moping around on the chair by the pool watching the sunrise, set, and also the horses graze. I think the tender moments between TL and Penny are interesting to watch because we're almost seeing two people at different parts of their lives sharing advice. Penny is bringing youth to TL and TL is essentially telling her to live her life any way she wants because he lived his life holding out for somebody to return when she never did. So I do find it quite interesting to follow. It is just getting a bit boring though because it's the same thing every week with him. When it comes to this episode overall, I thought it was strong and it put it in a good position for the finale next week. I do think it's a shame the way that this season's gone because it had the potential to be better than the first season. It was so good and I thought it was going to be filled with action, the cartel, and realistically, seeing the workers on site. But it's just not really been that this season. It's just been Tommy traveling around, politics and diplomatic approaches being at the heart of MTEX and Dan Morell, instead of action and force. But what I will say is it does feel like this season has just been filled with Angela and Ainsley just turning the show into a soap opera. It's a shame. I am optimistic for the finale though because of this episode, so I just hope it delivers. So, there you have it. Landman Season 2 Episode 9 Ending Explained.